It works on that superficial few seconds where the crocodile brain is deciding, can this benefit me? Can this harm me? Shall I kill it or shall I run away? And in this one, potentially the benefit, and this is the bit that makes it work, Fred, the benefit is that if you can help me, you feel good for helping me. And so there is a benefit that's dripped into you instantly just by saying, I wonder if you can help me. The answer is, well, why not? I'm a human. I'm quite a nice person. Why wouldn't I?
You're listening to the Sales Today podcast, and I'm your host, Fred Copestake. On this podcast, we explore how sales professionals can develop a modern approach to winning business, the application of virtual selling techniques, how to create meaningful business relationships, and much more. Why not take our free collaborative selling scorecard to see how your sales approach suits today's environment? You'll find a link in the show notes. And welcome to the Sales Today podcast, where I'm delighted to be joined by Mike Herberts. Mike is a sales trainer, regularly posts on LinkedIn, and can often be seen with a carrot in his ear. I'm sure I'll explain that in a minute. But Mike, welcome.
Morning, Fred. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. I ought to just tell the listeners that why you sat here or how you sat here. I sent you a message, didn't I? Saying, Mike, can you come on the podcast and talk about UPSP and G-TWO? And you said, okay. So we better unpick that cryptic conversation between ourselves and what it's all about. So shall we start with UPSP? What is it?
We can go for that. So UPSP is relatively new in my armory of selling tools, if you like. When I say relatively new, it's kind of the last 10 years. I've been at it a while. And it comes about as a result of me going back historically about what I've done in my past when I was a consultant, sales training consultant, working for a company. And most times, now I think about it, I used to go back and figure out a way to just make stuff easy. I'll give you a couple of really simple examples. I got involved in the UK utility deregulation business in '96. The government said 23 electric companies, we're going to let them all sell into any area. They no longer have a monopoly in their own area. So we had to go out and talk to the public about how they could save some money by switching supplier. It was unheard of. And a man came to me, said, my men are going out, they're knocking the door for a week, and then they're leaving because nobody will talk to them. And so, can you help us? So I went along and thought, right, why will nobody talk to a man on the doorstep with a briefcase wearing a suit who looks friendly with a big smile and says, hello there, we're just in the area. And I thought, why is no one wanting to talk to those people? And it was so obvious, and it was so stupidly obvious. And I couldn't imagine why they hadn't realized that those people are not welcome on your doorstep. So I said, well, look, we're talking something technical. We're talking utilities. How about we try and calm them down a bit and dress differently? And the guy said, what do you mean? And I said, well, if we dress them in, say, some overalls with a badge, a torch, a clipboard, a pencil behind the ear, we make sure their shoes are not patent leather. They wear practical, sturdy footwear. And what if when they open the door, instead of standing there with the big smile and the badge saying, hello, we're just in the area, how about if we stood a few feet back from the door, in fact, with our back to the people, looking as if we're doing something technical, so that by the time they open the door, we'd turn around and say, oh, hello there. And we finish doing what we were doing, and we go back and we start a conversation with them. And that business made millions and still makes millions because of that one simple idea. It was different, and so therefore it was unique. And we weren't there to sell anything, because actually by signing up with us, they ended up paying less. So it broke all the conventions of what we think selling is. What we're doing was solving a problem. Problem is what? Well, everything's expensive, and I have to have electricity, but I hate buying it. That's a problem. And so we did something to put oil on the waters, calm it all down, and we ended up with 700 people out knocking doors and made quite a lot of money. And I was just a consultant. And then the years went by and I got involved in other industries, and I started to think back. In every single one, I tried to bring something unique. And I realized that a unique selling proposition is a pushy thing that's all about me trying to sell you something. And a unique problem solving proposition is the complete opposite to that. So that's where it came from. And in fact, my UPSP is the fact that I described the UPSP and invented it and created it. No one else. If you Google it, you find me, no one else.
Yeah, it's a bit meta that, Mike. Your UPSP is that you talk about the UPSP. But no, I like that. I mean, I get upset when people talk about unique selling points because I'm like, it's probably not unique. And
It's
someone somewhere will have a similar point. Unique selling package, the way you put all your stuff together, yes, that can be unique, that can be stand out. But I like the next step you've taken, which is well, is that package about solving someone's problem? Yeah. Well, let's call it that then. That's what
and
we're there to do, are we not?
it was that
Yeah.
simple. It really was. Well, it's a problem solving proposition, and it means that I got to ask a question to establish whether they got the problem. Where a USP means I got to go out and tell them what I've got and how unique and wonderful it is. And so it just seemed very simple to me, and it's paid off, and it's an endless source of discussion. And I thought, is this genuine? Is it authentic? And then I started to think back what I've done over the years, and I realized actually it's completely authentic as a concept. Even as daft as I used to spend weekends on holiday parks where they used to sell these 30, 40, 50 grand holiday mobile homes. And because they're on holiday, nobody wants to talk to a salesperson. So we made sure all the salespeople were dressed down a bit more like a holiday maker, but just a fractional step above that. Professional golfer is what I described. And I made them all go around with pockets full of lollipops. So everyone you saw that you thought you might like to try and get chatting to, you just walk up and say hello. You probably don't realize, but it's lollipop day and everybody's got to have one. That's one for you, Dad, one for Mum, one for you, one for you. The weather's good, isn't it? How are you enjoying it? Yes, we're enjoying it. Super, fantastic. It's a great site, isn't it? Which van are you staying in? Oh, we're in that one up on the. Oh, yes, I know the site. That's a great pitch. You've got a great view there, haven't you? That's actually an owner's van. You probably didn't realize that. And they're like, what? Yeah, it's an owner's van. Yeah, they're buying that on monthly payments, but they also rent it out through the summer months when they're not using it, and it pays their fees and makes them a profit as well. Yeah, there's loads on here doing that. It's brilliant. And they'd say, oh, right. Oh, that's fascinating. Blah, 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 blah. And I'd say, did they not give you a sublet pack when you turned up? No, they didn't. Oh, come here. I'll get you one. And just walk away. And they follow you. And now we're in discussion. And I realized that that was another UPSP. The problem I'm solving there, Fred, is nobody wants to talk to a bloody salesman while they're on holiday. And yet here was such a simple, ridiculously simple way to get people talking to you. It's Lollipop Day. Is it? Yeah, you've got to have one. Well, I don't like it. Well, tough, you're having one. There you go.
It's funny. I'm just thinking of what's the alternative to that, which is come along and we'll give you a load of food and drink and a free day at the resort if you listen to the pitch. And they literally say it like that, and everyone goes, fine, I'll have food and drink. What's food and drink worth to me? About an hour. Okay, I'll listen for an hour. Then after that, right, I'm going now. Not enough. No, we're going to try and arm wrestle you in and keep you. It's like, I am not going to buy it. I'm literally, I'm here. I actually said to them, I'm here for food and drink. You might as well stop talking to me. I'm a sales trainer, mate. I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm here to get pissed.
Yeah, do you know, I think, Freddie, I think that's past what I'm talking about. I think the initial bit where if you've been to the Canaries, you know, you walk down the street, you can see them from about 250 yards away, and you think, shall we cross the road or shall we just brave it and walk past them and say, no, thank you, we're not interested. And the clever ones do all sorts of little things to try and grab you. I mean, I can tell you about one particular one that I thought was genius. I forget which one of the islands it was, but there was a massive firework display the night before, and it was amazing. It was beautiful. Next morning, we come out of the hotel, guy leaning against the wall, said, morning, you all right? And we said, yeah. He said, did you see the fireworks? And we said, yeah, it was brilliant. He said, oh, that was us. And we're like, sorry, what? What do you mean it was you? Oh yeah, we promote it, and suddenly we're in conversation. It was just genius. We didn't buy one, but it was genius. It was timeshare again.
Yeah.
There's a girl in Tenerife who's got a fake plaster that she puts on her leg right up to her thigh and a couple of crutches. And as you walk past, she drops her folder on the floor. And guess what you do? Because you're a nice person, you pick it up and give it back to her. And guess what she then does? And this is all UPSPs. The problem they've got, and actually that's a problem that I'm involved in an awful lot, starting conversations. How the hell do you start a conversation? You're a salesperson, they know, and you want to try and talk to them, and they don't want you to. How do you combat that? Well, put a
Yeah.
plaster on your leg, talk about the fireworks, go out with lollipops, dress
I
in the
think
uniform.
for me, the holiday example there, the fireworks, I'm okay with. The dropping the crutch with a fake pot, I'm not.
Yeah, it don't matter that
But
you're.
that's for me. That's for me.
Doesn't-
People will be at different levels
Absolutely.
along the spectrum.
Yeah.
Um, creativity, yeah, hats off to both.
Yeah.
But if anybody's listening and do find running that gauntlet difficult, the simple answer is no gracias, vivo aquí.
Yeah.
No, thank you, I live here.
Yeah.
Boom.
And if you live in
Sorted.
Thailand, it's meow cop, make up con cop. Meow
We're
cop,
supposed to be
meow
helping
cop.
salespeople, not scuppering their plans, Mike.
That's the only bit of language I learn is now bugger off. I'm not interested.
No, that's
I'm
no, thank you. I live here. No, thank you. I live here. Like, okay, yeah, you look like it with your red face and your sunburn.
And your shirt off.
Oh dear. Okay, so UPSP, unique problem-solving proposition.
Proposition, yes.
Bold statement coming here. Every salesperson should have this.
Yes.
Every salesperson should have one of these.
I don't know how you start a conversation without one. I don't. Because if you're in recruitment and you mention recruitment, hiring, talent acquisition, any of that, it's like, oh, no, we're good. Thank you. Bye. Thank you. Gone.
And okay, why people come and talk to you is so that you can help them craft it and you can make it punchy and you can make it interesting and you can probably make it better than putting the thing together yourself. But
Yes.
if you're sat thinking, well, I wouldn't even know where to start.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I suppose the answer is, well, what problem do you solve?
Well,
And if you're struggling with that answer, there may be trouble ahead, I think the song goes.
While there's ask Kevin Casey.
That's going to cost me royalties on this podcast now, you know.
Absolutely.
I'm going to cut that.
Not that I sang it that well. Ask Kevin Casey. The first time he and I ever spoke, I had my whiteboard and I'd just written on there, what problem do you solve? And he still remembers it because that's how I used to. It's a bit brutal, Fred, saying, well, what problem do you solve? Because often the salesperson involved isn't clear, that doesn't quite understand it. So I've softened it a little bit in recent years, you might be pleased to know, or recent months anyway. I've said, look, rather than me force you and demand that you tell me what problem you solve, because that's difficult, how about what do you think prompts a customer to come and talk to you about whatever it is you sell? It's the same question, just softened down and from the client's viewpoint rather than the sales. You see, the salesperson, if you put them in a corner and say, what problem do you solve? They'll panic. And they won't have spent, in my experience, sorry, it's a bit brutal this. In my experience, they won't have spent that long trying to articulate that problem in a way that makes it more interesting so that people are bothered to talk to them. Because if I'm in recruitment and I ring somebody up, I don't know if you deal with any recruitment people, I deal with them all the time. And they all say the same thing, but as soon as we even get any words out of our mouth, oh no, we're fine, we're good, thank you, bang. And that's because they're all attacking the market, all using the same concepts, and it doesn't work. And I don't know how the hell you start a conversation, and nor do they, and that's why they come to me. I can't get through to them, Mike. They don't listen long enough because as soon as they figure out what it is, they put the phone down. So a good UPSP should be able to solve that problem.
Interesting that they've made it the other person's issue that they can't get through. But that's a different problem to solve. But it's funny if
Yeah,
Kevin has been a guest on this podcast, cracking guest. So there's a guy called Bob Mester, and he talks about demand side selling, which is about stop talking about yourself,
yeah,
look at the customer side,
yeah,
and he talks about jobs to be done. Now, he's kind of from the jobs to be done theory, where your customer is trying to achieve stuff, and they have things that they're going to have to do that. They're their jobs to be done. Some of them they'll be cracking at, no
yeah,
issue. Some they'll struggle.
yeah.
Spot where they struggle. That's a problem, issue, concern, challenge. The language doesn't matter too much in your own head. That's what you focus in on, and it's just all about thinking about the customer, really, isn't it?
It's it's just yeah. I mean, I have a long definition of what it sounds like, and I won't go into it. Maybe on another call. But the two things we were going to talk about is the UPSP and the G-TWO, which is getting the word out. And there's a lot more interesting science in the G-TWO than there is in the UPSP, actually.
Are,
Because
are you
standing
moving me
out,
along? Are you moving me along,
I
Michael?
am moving you along. Just honestly, because once you've established that if you can create a UPSP and Fred and everybody listening, it doesn't have to be anything fabulous, but it needs a good label. Yeah. You won't be doing anything different to your competitors apart from thinking about how you solve the problem. That maybe you just think the same as your competitors, but you think more deeply about it, maybe. And if you can establish what that unique bit is, that problem-solving bit, give it a decent label, and then go and ask people if they've ever heard of that. And if it's a good label, and a good label has about 6 things it has to have about it, I'll tell you what they are. It has to sound familiar, but like something that's on the tip of your tongue that you know, but you just don't know. You can picture the actor, you know the films he's been in, but can you buggery remember his name? And a good UPSP will do that. So when you say, have you come across the expression, whatever it is, you want them to think, oh, that sounds, oh gosh. So it should sound familiar and relevant. It should sound like it hints at a problem. It should also sound like it hints at a potential solution. You should not be able to Google it, and it must have absolute intellectual integrity. If there's the tiniest sniff of a belligerent teenager came up with it, it won't work. So if it's kind of a half-assed attempt to put two words together and think, oh, well, that sounds okay, I can look at these now and just say that one won't work, and then let me explain why. So I'll give you an example of one that I'm really proud of. No, I can't, because they might be watching. I can't do that because I'll be giving the game away. But anyway, suffice to say, it's a label, really, and we know about labels. We know about Chris Voss. We know about ways of using labels in sales. And if I ask a question and say, have you come across this expression? And they say no, who's now got the moral ascendancy? Because if I sound like I know what I'm talking about, they've got to acquiesce and say, well, no, I don't know what that is. What is it? And then I've got to weigh in. I can now explain really quickly what it is. And if I'm going to do the right sort of cold call, I'm not going to try and book a meeting. I'm going to say, I'm going to be confident I've got sufficient information I could put in front of them. It'll be a piece of choppy copy, which is another thing that we could talk about. And it will do a cracking job because it'll follow the Zuora pitch deck hero's journey in small print, in different fonts with a little fancy image, and it'll look like a miniature newspaper, and it'll be fascinating. And I'm confident if I can just get that in their hands, I don't need to try and book a meeting at this visit. I can do that some other time. So it
I
has to
love it.
sound familiar. It has to hint at the problem. Has to be industry relevant. Has to sound like it's got a solution. Cannot be Googled, and has got intellectual integrity. It doesn't just look like some idiot decided to call it something.
Uh, that last one, I mean, they're all interesting. All of those elements. The last one, when you get it wrong, can spectacularally backfire.
Well, you
I
never
did a
know.
podcast
Actually, I
about
think all that happened. It backfires because nobody shows any interest because they've sussed it and thought, "Oh, I know what you're trying to do there."
yeah. Yeah, well, what I mean is it's probably in the delivery. I had a mate of mine, again, it came on the podcast a little bit back. He's an IT director. We did some special podcasts for people selling IT, And one of the things he says, and he has labels for salespeople, and one of them, I forgot what he calls them, but it's not very polite anyway. It's the people that come along with he calls it the condescending pitch.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah,
oh, have you heard that this and this and this and this is going on in your industry?
yeah,
And it's like, well, yeah, I have, Tar, or
yeah.
no, but the way you've just said that, I don't want to hear it from you.
I'm not going to
End
be
of.
interested. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, well, if you've got that thing, brilliant. Now we can package it neatly so that someone like Scott would go, oh, well, that's sort of. All right, and leans forward and wants to
Yeah,
get involved in it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the intellectual integrity is the fact that it sounds sensible. It kind of just makes sense, and you think, oh, it makes so much sense that it sounds like maybe you have heard it, but you forgot. Remind me.
Yeah.
You know, like when you say to your other half, what was the name of that woman that was in that bloody film? You know, the one where they
Yeah.
did, and she goes, oh, it's so-and-so. And you go, oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really satisfying. Yeah.
Or they go, oh, her, there's turf in
Yeah.
it. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
it's on the
forgot her name.
tip of my tongue. It's tickling my brain. It's like, yeah.
But
Yeah.
these days, of course, these days we pick
Well,
up,
yeah, just,
oh, bloody hell. It's Mabel Smith.
yeah.
Um,
But when you get it, and when you get it yourself, this, I don't know, what's that sensation that washes over you? Like,
it's a
ah,
little dopamine shot.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
It
that
is, isn't
little
it?
like,
It is. Um,
so I'm going to push on and say, right, shall we
uh,
just talk about the
oh,
GTW?
I was about to say, I think this is connected
I
to
knew you
G2,
were.
isn't it?
G2.
This is great. I should have just sat with a cup of tea like you run the whole thing.
7 years ago, I got involved with a firm with a brand new product that wasn't looking promising and ultimately failed. And I did the same thing I do for, there was no product market fit. It was a bit of a disaster. We saved a part of it and sold that instead and did really well, as it turned out. But partway through trying to make that work, I thought I need to speak to some people in a particular industry so that we could perhaps tie up with them and make this damn thing work. I wasn't trying to sell to them as such in that sense. I was trying to get them to buy in and collaborate. And so I thought, how am I going to tell them? Well, I'll just call them. So I just picked up the phone and didn't write a script down or anything. I just started talking. And so the first one answered, and I said, oh, hello, I wonder if you can help me. I've got a client I'm working with, and I'm just trying to get the word out about something they've been doing. It might not apply to you. Are you all right for a second? And they said, yeah, what is it? And so I explained what it was and said, look, I don't know if it is right for you. We've put together a bit of information about exactly how it would work. Can I send you it? Have a look, see what you think, and then I'll call you back next week. And they said yes. I made, and I can't remember if it was either 23 or 28 calls, and I ticked them all off. And at the end, I'd had 23 or 28, whichever it was, said, yeah, sure, go ahead and send us it. And I'm busy in the background teaching some people on the phone to use a script on a cold call. And I just suddenly thought, well, hang on, that was a cold call I just made, but it didn't feel like a cold call to me. And it certainly bloody didn't feel like a cold call to them. And I got 28 connects and 28 yeses. And so I started to weave that into what we were doing, and it went on and on. And then I started to analyze why it was working. So why does, hello, you might hate me, this is a cold call. Can you give me 30 seconds to explain why I called, and then you can tell me to bugger off? That's one way of doing it. However, people don't like salesmen. And what you've said is, I am a salesman. I ultimately will be attempting to make some headway with you. And even if you say, yes, go ahead, I can still hear the cynicism in your voice saying, oh, go on then. The eye roll, oh, go on then. What is it? But they're not listening because they're still in fight or flight mode. They're still thinking, well, I'm going to end up giving out money, or this person's going to piss me off, or they're going to be obnoxious, or they're going to talk fast, or they're going to be smarmy, overly friendly. And so the defense mechanism's still in place, which means they don't hear what you're saying.
It's
Whereas
unconscious. It's an unconscious defense mechanism.
totally,
However much they're saying yes, their brain is saying,
their
but
brain
no.
is, yeah, it's called cognitive dissonance. We haven't created cognitive dissonance because that's too complicated to talk about here. But anyway, So when you ring and say, I wonder if you can help me, first of all, you've tapped in to a root part of a human being. We have evolved to help each other. That is a fact. That's how we survived and over bloody survived. That's why we're doing so well as a species. Meanwhile, killing our environment, well, that's another matter.
That's a different series, mate.
Um, so when you ask someone, a stranger, oh, hello, I wonder if you can help me, the answer's always, yeah, go on. Yeah. Nobody ever says no and just walks past. They just don't. You got to just take my word from that. If you want to test it out, just go and test it. So when I say, I wonder if you can help me, that defense mechanism hasn't been put up yet. And then I say, I'm just trying to get the word out. And do you know, I even agonized over whether I put the word just in there because people say, oh, that sounds weak. Well, that's what I want to sound like, you twat. I want to sound weak. I want to sound that as if I'm not trying to gain some kind of pecuniary advantage here. I'm just trying to get the word out about something. That's all. And so the barrier that's normally erected in a new situation with a fresh person, and I can figure out, well, they've called me out of the blue, so they're probably trying to sell me something. And I've just killed all that by saying, well, I wonder if you can help me. I'm just trying to get the word out about something. It might not even apply to you. In other words, you can even just tell me to bugger off if you want. And it's just really powerful. Sean Cease, who the professor of cold calling, who I hold in massive, what's the word I'm looking for it? Regard.
It's esteem, yeah, regard, yeah.
He came back and he said, yeah, we're using it. It's brilliant. So it's like, that'll do. That's good enough for me. And it works on that superficial few seconds where the crocodile brain is deciding, can this benefit me? Can this harm me? Shall I kill it or shall I run away? And in this one, potentially the benefit, and this is the bit that makes it work, Fred, the benefit is that if you can help me, you feel good for helping me. And so there is a benefit that's dripped into you instantly just by saying, I wonder if you can help me. The answer is, well, why not? I'm a human. I'm quite a nice person. Why wouldn't I? What is it? Well, I'm just trying to get the word out about something, but it might not actually apply to you anyway. Well, yeah, go on. I'll help you. What is it? What do you want to know?
And there's psychology in that line as well, isn't there? It might not apply to you. Whoa, hang on a minute. I'll decide that one.
Yeah,
if I'm going to try and make
and
it
Fred,
apply to me.
that there is that element, but again, that's the old pushy salesman element that I try and stay. I rather think that the psychology is that it might not apply to you. I mean, so I could, in fact, in a very short space of time, tell you it doesn't apply to me, and that'll be the end of the interaction. You won't waste my time. I prefer that angle. I do know where you're coming from, but honestly, these days, Kevin's been a big influence on me because some smart things in his book that are not obvious, and that's one of them. I don't know if it'll apply to you, and so that's G2. And G2 then brings us to the point where we can ask a question about our UPSP, our label. The UPSP is a label that makes sense, sounds interesting, it's got intellectual integrity. And I just say, have you ever come across the expression blah de blah? And they go, yeah, what you just did there,
my
Fred.
face.
It's that reaction.
I was kind of looking, going, well, I think I do. It's almost like a pained expression. I'm just struggling in my head. I think I do.
Yeah. And when we can't think of that actor or that actress, we just look around for someone to say, what's the name of that?
Yeah, I was looking around. Oh,
It's
yeah.
an amazing piece of psychology. And it gets rid of this thing is, well, I do know what's happening in my industry. Thank you very much. Or I don't know what's happening, but there's no way I'm going to interact with you because you sound so bloody cocky about it. So this avoids both of those reactions.
Yeah. So yeah, I appreciate what you're saying, where you're saying, yeah, that can be a bit salesy, that. But I think now, more modern way of selling is putting genuine, I don't know if it's the right word, I call them trust bumps. It's a little like speed bumps where if it's time for somebody to get off because actually it's not right, let them.
Yeah.
Don't try and arm wrestle and fight and force people into the corner to buy from you because it ain't going to happen. And the very fact you're giving them that option and they're staying with you, feeling safer, feeling closer, it's just better all round. Maybe the mean
It
talk
just
to me about
make
the
it easier.
ventral vagal state kicks in
Yes,
play, and you
absolutely.
start
And I
to
have to say,
relax.
I
And
read
this
those.
is a yeah.
I read that post of yours, and I went and had a quick look, and it is exactly that. It's about shifting. It's like taking the weapons off of your enemy. It's like walking up to your enemy who's got a sword. That's all he's got, and you just walk up to him before the fight, and you just take it off him. What's he going to do now? So if you know that people say, "Look, I'm really busy and I don't want to talk to a salesman," the way to remove that weapon is take it off people. Ring them up and say, "Hello, I guess you're really busy and don't want to talk to a salesman." And in Chris Voss terms, that'll be, yeah, that's right. Okay, I guess right then.
Yeah.
Can I have 1 minute then? Yeah, go on then. That's the same concept. Take the weapon off them, or better still, make it not be a fight. Most people cold call expecting a fight. Their linguistics aim at that they're expecting a fight by saying, "I'm a salesman, you're going to hate me, you're going to want to fight me, can we not?" And you better still, just go in and it not be a fight. I wonder if you can help me. I'm just trying to get the word out about something actually, and it may not actually apply to you. There's no fight.
Yeah, for me, because don't think of a pink elephant scenario. Oh, I'm a salesperson, but don't hate me. Well,
Yeah.
I've got to think about hating you first.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not going to
Or
get
I
beyond
can
that.
not hate you.
That's
And I
chaotic.
know they don't say don't hate me, but it's that ilk, it's that concept that they use all the time. It's a cold call. I'm going to try and take your weapon off you before you use it. Better still, it's not a fight anymore. I wonder if you can help me. I'm just trying to get the word out about something. Might not apply to you. Oh, go on
Love
then.
it.
That's it.
Love this. UPSP, unique
UPSP,
problem
unique
solving
problem
proposition,
solving proposition.
and
And
G-TWO.
it is only a label. It's nothing clever. You don't have to be selling anything at all unique to have a UPSP. But what you do need to do is get someone to dig out of you the reason why you're in this. And Fred, let's be honest, you do what you do because you thought you could do it better than some other people could and bring benefit. I do what I do for the exact same reason. We all do. But there's also 100 of you and 1,000 of me. And like, how am I going to be different? Well, I'm going to talk about an aspect of this that I don't think my competitors talk about enough. Because training, if we were talking training, it's not, I can't do training in a day. That's ridiculous. Imagine getting bloody, some famous footballer and saying, right, we're doing training. Yeah. At what day? We're doing it on Wednesday, the 25th of October. That's probably not going to work so well if you want to stay in the Premier League, is it? It might be something you have to do a little bit more often than that. So you can't label training. You can't just say it's training. It's not, it's teaching. If it's a day, it's teaching. Training is what you do afterwards, where you take one aspect of the teaching and you can keep repeating it endlessly so that a person can do it with no thinking. Stevie Coppell in the old days, all he did was run down the wing and wait for that ball. And if it came, his job was one thing: swing that over onto the penalty spot up in the high so a tall player could nod it into the net. That was his job. That was his only job. He never did anything else. And as soon as he'd done that, he could walk all the way back down the pitch and then wait again, run as fast as he can, get the ball, whap it over. That was his job. He was perfect. He never missed every single time. I don't know how many times he'd trained it. Beckham had trained taking, free kicks from just outside the penalty box. But I don't know how many times. Billions, millions. So he just did. And when we see it, we go, oh my God, that was amazing.
Yeah, Johnny Wilkinson.
Yeah.
10 in a row. He had to get 10 in a row before he'd allowed stop.
Yeah.
If he did 9 and then he'd missed one, he'd start again.
Yeah.
And
so it's about having a label, and that's why I don't like the label sales trainer, but you and I have talked about that before. That would be like car expert. On what aspect?
Yeah.
All aspects. What? All of them, yeah. Painting them, yeah. Greasing them, yeah. Driving them, yeah. Building them, yeah. Designing. No, there is no such thing. And so I don't think there can be such thing as a sales trainer.
People like boxers to put people in. I'm happy to sit in the sales trainer box. If that speeds up, facilitates conversations along with UPSPs and G-TWOs, then all good. Mike, where can people get in touch with you? Because I'm pretty sure people hear this and think, you know what, I want a bit of help unpacking this.
I don't want them getting in touch with me, Fred.
Oh,
What
awesome.
would I want that for? I'm on LinkedIn. Just
What sort of psychology are you playing with us now?
the ultimate in reverse psychology. I'm on LinkedIn. If you type the word carrot or the word Mike or Mike Herberts, you'll find me. In fact, just go onto LinkedIn, type in UPSP. You'll find me.
Awesome. In fact, look at the show notes and they will see your link there too, because we will pop that in. Mike, pleasure as always. Thanks for spending some time sharing those really important concepts with us. I've really enjoyed it. So yeah, thanks again, mate.
Pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Today podcast with me, your host, Fred Copestake. I hope you've enjoyed what you heard today. If you did, please get in touch and hit subscribe. And remember, you can take the Collaborative Selling Scorecard for free to check out how your sales approach works in today's environment. You'll find it in the show notes.